A shout out to our podcast sponsor, sportsponsorship.co.uk. If you or your business are interested in making a real difference to the Scottish game, supporting hundreds of kids into regular football, get in touch with sportsponsorship.co.uk and they'll find the right fit for your brand. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Tinpot, a Scottish football podcast with lots of great fun alternative views. My name's Tom, I'm going to be your host for the next 45 minutes or so, and I'm joined by our two friends Matt and Andrew to chat about this weekend's Scottish Premiership action. Not going to give you a sort of contents page this week because we're basically just going to chat about all 6 games that were going on and not much else. It's Monday the 1st of September, so it is transfer deadline day. And that's ongoing, but I think it's going to dilute things too much if we try and get involved in that, so we'll stick to the Scottish Premiership action. And yeah, without really waffling on too much, I'm just going to ask you boys, how are you? What have you been up to recently? What's happening with you, Andrew?
Oh, pretty boring for myself, to be fair. Nothing that exciting. Just been beavering away at work, and don't know where that came from. Yeah, nothing really exciting. Obviously, took in a bit of football over the weekend, and I'm sure we'll get to all of that. But yeah, just really interested to see what happens between now and the end of the window. There's a few question marks over a few clubs, so just been keeping a sharp eye on that today. But yeah, we'll see how the mood is tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's the most action I've seen in the Scottish window, like on deadline day for a while, or maybe the most high value moves are getting spoken about.
Yeah,
normally they're done
absolutely.
a wee bit earlier, but to leave it this late, it's interesting. So
There's a lot of
yeah,
them. There's quite a few that you just keeping an eye on. Mainly the sort of prem up here. There's quite a lot of managers looking to fill a few gaps still. At all levels, like Falkirk, St Mirren, obviously Celtic. Looking to fill a couple of gaps there. So yeah, a lot of business to be done. So there's going to be, I'm sure, a few disappointed managers at the end of it, but be interested to see how they cope.
absolutely exactly. And for those of you who are listening to the Spotify, to the podcast, as opposed to watching, you're going to get just the usual treatment. You're going to get the audio from all 3 of us. But if you are choosing to watch the episode on YouTube, you're going to have to deal with a photo of Matt's face, because for I think the 3rd or maybe 4th episode out of 14, his camera is not working. But so I can't tell how you are, Matt. I don't know if you're laughing or crying over there. How are you? What's been going on in your life?
Yeah, I'm alright, mate. I think this is the second time. I'm sure there's been another issue, but this is the second, maybe the third. I don't know. No, I'm sure
It's the third. It's the third.
Is it the second full episode and the third time it's happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm swell. I did the Kirkcaldy Park run on Saturday, my first ever park run. I don't know if we have any park runners in the house. Anyone here in the park run?
Nope.
It was pretty good. To be fair, there was a lot of happy volunteers for Saturday morning cheering you on, and there was like about 180 people in the bevy in Kirkcaldy.
Nice.
A couple of laps of the bevy with my dad and my auntie and my cousin. Some sort of fundraising event. I didn't give any money, but I was there doing the run, so that counts.
Following you, leaving you in his dust. I can imagine.
I won a bit out of the family. Easy money.
You won a fun run.
No, I didn't win the whole park run, but I beat my dad. He was like 65. My auntie is the same age. Beat them easy.
You collect all the money at the end.
That's it, mate. Smashed through the little red tape, and
So far, you've been on here bragging about beating your 5-year-old daughter at bowling, and now you're bragging about beating your dad and your auntie in a fun run for charity that you didn't give money to.
No, to be fair, I think my auntie's raising money over the course of the year, so I'll donate before the end of 2025. It's a yearly thing. Still time. Give a couple of quid.
I'm sure Barry Robson could have done with you running on over at Starks Park on the weekend after that result.
Yeah, it was a disappointing result. It seemed like a roller coaster ride of emotions for the fans that were there and those watching along on their phones or whoever else. The radio, I don't know. Supposed to listen to the radio. Yeah, disappointing to lose. We have had a good record against Thistle. Up until then, could have gone either way. I think a draw might have been a fair result, but we move on, and we've made some signings before the end of the loan window. So we've got 3 new loans and one boy for Rangers. Andrew, I don't know if you've heard of.
Yeah, Gentles. Yeah, I was really intrigued about that one because couple of alarm bells there. One was I think he was at Alloa last season, and then, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he hardly played. And then the second thing is when he was playing a couple of pre-season friendlies for Rangers, Russell Martin really liked him. So 2 kind of red flags there for you. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. He's got a good engine from what I've seen anyway.
Yeah, Robson likes a runner up front, so
yeah, I'm not sure how his kind of finishing skills are as a.
Nah, it doesn't matter to Robson, mate. You've been playing Paul McMullen up front, so that tells you all you need to know.
Alright, okay, well, at least he'll maybe get a game then. That's
yeah,
fine.
if you can run about really fast, then you'll get in a Robson team up front.
That's what I mean. You should have been playing.
I can finish as well, mate. So there you go. Trigger special.
One out.
Dominic Szoboszlai copying me for his goal at the weekend.
Dominic Szoboszlai. Apparently, Dominic Szoboszlai is the first player of the season to score from as many yards out as you would get for points in Scrabble for his name.
Oh, wow.
We'll move on from that. Little factoid to start the pod. Yeah, reviewing the Scottish Premiership action from the weekend, there was 6 games on the Saturday and Sunday. And yeah, loads and loads to discuss here. So we're going to start all the way up at Pittodrie with Aberdeen 0, Falkirk 1. And a pretty shambolic start to the season for Yemi Tillin and his Dons. They've only won 5 games since last November in the league. And the squad looks pretty dire. They're struggling for... they're still looking for that striker up top, obviously, but they're leaking goals as well, aren't they? Yeah. So who knows what they're going to be able to do, especially with European fixtures coming up. I sadly didn't get to watch the game, but I watched the extended highlights, and very much a game of 2 halves with that red card coming towards the end of the first half. What do you think about Aberdeen versus Falkirk, Andrew? What were your takeaways from the game?
I mean, I did sort of mention about Aberdeen a couple of weeks ago, when we were obviously chatting away about, I think it was Hibs actually, and how sort of well they've been doing and how their sort of form has been pretty decent at the start of the season. But Aberdeen obviously get spoken about in the same breath as Hibs and Hearts. But at the moment, I think they're really living on, a distant memory now. They're not. They were good at the start of last season. They've been shite since then. Obviously, I know they won the cup final. Which was well deserved. It was a really gritty performance, but in the league they've been terrible, like absolutely terrible. And it looks like that form's carried through. I know we're in the middle of deadline day, but it looks like they've managed to secure Nisbet for 300 grand, which is, I think, a really good deal. As long as he stays fit, that's it. But they're not blessed with a lot of reliable options up top, so. You look at the depth that Hibs have added in this window. You look at the depth that Hearts have added in this window. Aberdeen are not really in the same sort of situation at all. I think they're really going to struggle. And to be honest, even if they do get rid of Tillin, which may happen, if the form continues. Do they really have a squad that someone can sort of pick up and run with? It won't be an easy job, but here comes my favourite man in superhero again. Someone like Stephen Robinson was probably who they're going to poach, though. Like, it's that type of manager that they're probably look at, because maybe Tillin hasn't kind of worked out, if that happens. And I suppose he could play with what they've got. But yeah, a bit worrying, a bit concerning. I don't think that I can't really see their form turning around after international break personally. But who knows? It depends how much business they do in this window.
I hope they come knocking on Jim Goodwin's door, beg him back. And Jim Goodwin goes along with it, like, yeah, no worries, I'll come and sign for Aberdeen again after you've fisted me. He goes all the way up to Aberdeen, he's ready to sign the papers, and he just does a big suck it, and just no chance. Not coming back to your shithole, mate. After you fucked me over. Nah, we're laughing on the other side of our face. Get it up them. But speaking about Tillene and his tenure, does he have enough credit in the bank, Matt, to last? Like, how many more games do you give him?
I mean, the Scottish Cup victory is getting further and further away. You know that it was a special moment, but the league form is just pathetic, and they don't look like scoring a goal. The signings haven't improved that. They signed Big Yengi, who hadn't scored a goal like last year in the league, and they play him up front by himself with two sort of wingers who don't really score goals either and don't look like they'll score. And he started the season with that Nielsen boy playing in midfield who's got no legs, and I don't know. It just reminds me of Hearts, last season where they had a great season under Naismith, and then they lost a fairly winnable qualifier for the Europa League, and then Naismith was gone fairly soon after that. I think Tillene had a golden opportunity to qualify Aberdeen for the Europa League. They were more than a match for that FSPB FCB Bucharest. They should have beaten them at home. They didn't. Again, they couldn't score enough goals. They let in some terrible goals, and then obviously the away game was disappointing, but that was a red card played a part in that. But again, that was a golden chance to get into the Europa League, and he lost, and I can't see him turning around. I mean, he talks about improving in the attack in third, but I mean, Nisbet will improve that. So you never know, but he was there at the end of last season. He didn't win many games, so I don't know. I think he'll
Do you
be
know who
going
they should have signed, actually? Like, just thinking about it, they probably should have signed Miofsky. But that didn't work out, did it?
Just let that one hang. The only saving grace for him is that the next couple of league games have got Livingston at home and then away at Motherwell, which on paper for an Aberdeen team should be winnable games, and then they've got Dundee after the European tie. So, they do have probably a good enough squad to pick up points in those games. Like I say, that's the only saving grace for Tillene, I think. But on to Falkirk, just very briefly. I think it's unfair for us to speak so much about Aberdeen and not talk about how good Falkirk were in that second half. Aberdeen obviously were on top in the first half, created the most chances, but you see it quite often when a team goes down to 10 men, you're playing against them, you find it hard to create chances, hard to break them down, but Falkirk were peppering them in that second half, created loads of opportunities and tucked one away fairly late on. And yeah, credit to McGlynn for doing that. What's it, 4 points they're on after the first 3 games, and they've played 2 teams that have been in European competition as well, so it's not all about Aberdeen being shite. Got to give a lot of credit to McGlynn and Falkirk. What do you think, Matt? I know you're a big fan of John McGlynn.
No, in all seriousness, I do think John McGlynn is doing a great job at Falkirk. He's still got a lot of players in that team that played in League One with him, and to take them all the way up and to win at Aberdeen, continuing to play the football that he does, it's great. Fair play to him. Looking at other teams this season, like Dundee, who are terrible. I think Dundee will be bottom, maybe. I don't know. I like Pressley, but he's having a tough time of it. I think Falkirk will stay up. I've changed my mind on them. Glenn's sticking to his principles and fair play. John, I love you.
And also fair play to Mr. Scott Bain, who
clean sheet,
not only keeps a clean sheet, but if you've watched the highlights, a couple of fantastic saves in there as well. So yeah, well done to one of the best goalkeepers in the league, Scott Bain.
Well, you say that.
Great keeper, Scott Bain.
Aberdeen have hardly scored a goal this season, so...
Well, not scored any goals actually, mate.
Exactly.
Hard to score goals. They've not scored any league goals, so yeah, any league goals,
no
none.
league goals,
0,
nada.
I
didn't say league goals, so clean your ears out, mate. But
Tom,
we're discussing the SPFL William Hill Premiership, mate. So
Tom, quick one on the red card. Sorry to cut you off. This interesting debate there.
Cut off and talk about the red card. On you go.
You think it wasn't a red card, or you think it was not even a foul?
Yeah, I don't think it's a red card.
I mean, I don't think it's a red card, but I mean, I think Devlin's been really stupid. Like, why is he...
Wait, so you agree? So what's your point?
But I'm saying that it was a foul, and it was a yellow card. I don't think he meant to kick him in the knee, but he meant to go in hard on him and sort of give it.
It's
one.
not.
You know,
It's
we've all
not a
done that
tackle.
before.
It's not a tackle.
He kicks the ball really hard on purpose, swings his leg through because he wants to sort of clash into the boy.
He's playing a pass
Seen
down the
it
line.
before. No, nonsense.
He is.
He knows what he's doing there. Like, he knows he's trying to be the big man and try and kick the, try and get
You
really
can't
fucking.
guess what's going through his mind as he's doing it. He's playing a pass down the line. The other boy gets in the way.
He's facing the wrong direction, mate.
No foul.
He's shooting the other way. Why is he putting it like that way? No, he's just trying to lay one on someone, like, or kick the ball really hard and be like, "Oh, come on, you fucking."
Yeah, kick the ball really hard. That's not against the rules in football. It's different if you've got a high boot. If you're like going Nigel de Jong World Cup final stuff and studs into chest. But you're just passing the ball. If your follow through hits a player,
I think he asks.
That happens all the time.
With the VAR and the way they freeze frame it, he's
exactly the way they freeze frame it.
Yeah, but he's being stupid. That's why he got sent off, like, because of his own stupidity.
I think that's the problem, like, with VAR though, like, because, well, I haven't actually seen the reason from the referee, but the reason seems to be relatively clear that there's intent, there. But if you watch it at full speed, I don't really get that impression. But when you slow it down, like, it does feel like there's a possibility that there's intent. So, like, what's the rule? Surely it has to be clear and obvious that there is intent, rather than having any sort of debate about it. And if it's a team of officials that are making the decision or helping to make the decision, that's where I really feel VAR is kind of fucked, because ultimately the best view in the house is always going to be those in the VAR room. So why aren't they just making the decisions off the bat, and why are they having, and also why do they make the decisions off of freeze frames or slow-mo, like, when you're trying to debate whether there's intent in a challenge, like, because it's always going to look different than what it was at full speed. It's different if it's something like offside, or it's different if it's anything but intent, effectively a handball or something like that. But I think that's where it then becomes really muddy. And personally, I thought it was a bit harsh, like, him getting sent off for that. But again,
yeah, it's different if
where
it's
VAR lets you down.
Different a bit if it's 50-50 and the Falkirk boys already got a foot to the ball or something. But the Falkirk chap's not even challenging for the ball. He stood back, and from my view, Devlin's playing kicking the ball away. It's hard. He can kick the ball as hard as he likes down the line, and his foot follows through. I think it's a load of nonsense. Anyway, agree to disagree, Matthew, but we both agree it's not a red card, so that worked out well.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's giving the referee the chance to make a decision by doing some stupid fucking kick. Like, just fucking kick it normally. Like, why'd you have to go so aggressively like that, making a point? Anyway,
the best leaders on the park are aggressive. Your Scott Browns, etc.
Nah, that's petulance, mate.
Roy Keane's.
Anyway,
yeah, moving on from the controversy up in Aberdeen that has got Dons fans worrying to Motherwell versus Killie. Another exciting match involving Motherwell after their 3-3 draw last week with Heart of Midlothian. They've carried on that sort of quick counter-attacking style, and but unfortunately it's leaving them open a bit at the back, and obviously they've shipped 2 goals again. There's obviously a few skeptics. I wanted to talk about Killie to start with. There was a few skeptics at the start of the season around Kettlewell's appointment, I thought. A few people thinking it was a bit too safe, or that he hadn't really proven anything or proven enough to be Killie manager, especially after taking over from McInnes. But he's had a really steady start to the league. Obviously 4 points, unbeaten in the league, as Motherwell are. And proven some of those doubters wrong so far, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think, to be honest, both of them had question marks over their head. Both Askew and Kettlewell, for different reasons. But yeah, I mean, look, they've picked up 4 points, as you said, undefeated. They're in the mix. They've not had a struggling start or anything like that. So how it'll be maintained, I don't know. I think there's quite a lot of sides that we're still to see sort of how their sort of football identity develops, I guess. And I think the transformation that Askew has introduced at Motherwell has been more significant than what Kettlewell has done. Kilmarnock, it's two different kind of ambitions there. I think, Kettlewell was maybe trying to sort of keep things stable after obviously losing a decent manager there. Askew's coming in with, a fair bit of disruption actually, having been at Motherwell with a few sort of managers going in and out for different reasons. But he's come in and wanting to play a very specific style of play, and that seems to be quite effective. I mean, obviously they're scoring, but they're leaking at the back. So if they can shore that up, then Motherwell could be a really exciting team to watch this season.
Yeah, I think it was Matt at the start of the season was tipping them to do quite well. Did you have them down for 6th, Matthew?
Yes, much to your laughter, and no, I think they've done well. I mean, they're scoring some goals now, 3 in the last game, 2 in this game, after struggling a bit in the opening round group games of the League Cup. So I think the manager's got them firing. Their strikers, who I shall not name again, I'll try. Mas One Hise and Stamatalopoulos, of course. Again, he's not scored Stamatamopoulos, but the other boy's pretty impressive. Like, he's looking really good. Like, that's why he's going to bang him.
Yeah, I signed him on FM for United, and he was good. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's the sign of a good player. Yeah, I think they'll get top 6, as I said. I think that's exciting from Motherwell. Kelly, with a weaker squad, some signings from across the world. Denaro Daniels from Cork City. Didn't know that. Big Bruce Anderson up front. No, yeah, they've got an interesting squad. They have some young players, some loan players, so Kettlewell's a good manager. I think he'll keep them up quite comfortably. But yeah, let's get some wins on the board for these teams, man. What's going on here? It's drawing all the time. Like,
I know,
is
so
this
many
the most
draws
you've ever seen in your life?
3 teams with four games and 4 draws, and 6 teams still without a win.
What does that tell you then? That everyone's equally shite or everyone's equally alright?
I think I don't know. I could be wrong, but modern football generally, people are. You see it when people are playing. They're scared to make mistakes, scared to lose games. So maybe coming away with a draw for a lot of these teams is an okay result. I don't know. But obviously Motherwell don't play that way at all. They're not playing for these draws. Motherwell are just getting the draws because they're too leaky at the back. But yeah, I was happy to see the aforementioned George Stanger score at the weekend. When I say aforementioned, he was mentioned in episode 6 by our guest Henry. But yeah, good to see him on the score sheet after he got a red card in game week 1. And yeah, I think 2-2 in that game was a fair result based on what I saw.
Matthew, you're saying there about Motherwell getting top 6.
Mm-hmm.
So who you thinking is going to be in the top 6 then? Because obviously, as far as I would have it in my head, if we're looking at bookies' favourites, I guess, at the start, you'd be subbing Motherwell in for maybe a St Mirren or something in that 6th place. Or how do you kind of see it going? Or do you see Aberdeen maybe not making top 6, for example?
Yeah, possibly Aberdeen or St Mirren. Aberdeen at the moment, obviously, bottom of the league. I think Rangers might struggle to get in the top 6 this season, Andrew.
To be honest, I can't argue with you.
So, I think Aberdeen might slip out unless they... I don't know, it's so hard, it's so early on. I think I predicted... What do I think? Celtic, Hearts, Rangers...
You had United down in 10th, I remember.
Yeah, so. Maybe United, I don't know, maybe underestimated the Europeans and their European mentality of being like physically strong and tough through the wars and that. So I think, I don't know, the season's been, it's hard to predict anything. No one's really done anything.
Yeah.
It's been really quite...
I agree.
Has it been boring? It's not been boring, but it's everyone, it's just like, no one's really taking the bull by the horn, just humping it into submission.
That's right, though. You're right. Like, I think at the end of the season, like, or when it gets to the split, I think between 5th and 9th is going to be really, like, fag paper stuff. Like, it's going to be proper tight, in there for who's creeping into top 6. I really do. Because anyone can be anyone at the moment, and although I'm sure there will be a bit of strengthening in the window before it shuts. There's not going to be that much change, realistically, with the majority of teams, outside your sort of your Celtic probably, I think it's going to be pretty nip and tuck.
Pretty nip and tuck. As it was at Easter Road on the weekend. Nip and tuck. It was a
Lovely segue.
Thank you. It was a 1-1 draw between the High Bees and the Buddies, and obviously Hibs coming off the back of their European game. I think they made 5 changes to their lineup. Bowie dropped out as well. I think a lot of... Oh, I've just had a message. That's why I've been put off. I think a lot of fans were happy with Hibs' performance despite only coming away with a point. They still troubled St Mirren for most of that game and created plenty of chances. They should have probably scored more than one. And we'll take a point, I suppose. At this early stage, they're not miles away from the front two, and they still have a game in hand against Falkirk that they missed from the European game. The biggest talking point of that one, I think, was the sort of last minute penalty that David Gray was appealing for handball. And I agree with David Gray. He was very calm about it, and he approached it in the right way when it was mentioned in an interview. But I'm fully on side with him. Like, I want to hear from a ref or from someone in the VAR room as to why that's not given. I hate handballs getting given when it's blasted at you from a yard away, but the rules are the rules. If your hand is out in a weird position and it hits it, that's a penalty. It's as simple as that. I don't understand how someone can look at that on a screen that gets paid to do this for a job and says that's not a penalty.
I'm not defending it, but because I mean, if it was a Rangers game, I'd be absolutely screaming for that. Like, because his hands are up, but I think because his hands aren't out, it's not that silhouette rule, like, but it's enough to be close enough to his face, kind of thing, or protecting his face. It's not outstretched, and I think that's where I'm not defending this, but I think that's where there's a little bit of a grey area. But there seems to have been a constant grey area for handballs for seasons and seasons. It's ridiculous. But for me, if that's my team, I'd be absolutely screaming for that. His hands are up. They're obstructing. They've stopped the ball from going any further in the box. So for me, it's a penalty. You'd feel slightly aggrieved, if it's given against you. But at the same time, I don't think you'd have that many complaints. Whereas the fact that it's not been given, I think it's sets up for a lot more complaints, to be fair. But I don't know, it's one of them. You could argue it either way. What do you reckon, Matthew?
I think it's a penalty. Yeah, the boys made his body bigger to block the ball, maybe not on purpose, but his arms are flailing about. He's doing the fucking Michael Flatley. If he did it with his arms, with his legs. It's a clear penalty. But Hibs' strength and depth is really exciting for them this season. They made a number of changes, and they still look quite strong against the mighty Stephen Robinson's St Mirren. It was a tough game against the best manager in the league's team, so to get a point, it's not bad. I say early on, everyone's still drawing all the time, so they're in third place at the moment. When they're given a hand, they'll be 2 points off the top. Come on, the Hibs. Kieran Bowie from Scottish. That's all I've got to say on that.
Well, the only thing I would say about Hibs is, like, I've been a big supporter of what they've been doing, but if you actually look at it, like, they've had a pretty easy start to Premiership life. That's only been challenging because they've kind of been mixing it in with Europe, and they've had some really, really big performances in there. But I think they've been kind of a wee bit fortunate, whilst they've been juggling that, to be playing the likes of Dundee, Kilmarnock, Livy. Obviously the Falkirk game got postponed, and then St Mirren's been kind of the first sort of proper test domestically. Again, I'm not sort of slating Hibs because I've been a massive fan of what they've been doing at the start of the season, and they're right in the mix. But maybe slightly fortunate with that run, and before the international break, you'd maybe expect them just to put the foot on the neck and get a result in this game. So although the penalty decision is disappointing, maybe would have wanted to see them sort of check off a result before they go into an international break.
Yeah, the difference between St Mirren, like you're not Hibs aren't playing at home to St Mirren of a few years ago. The St Mirren team now under Robinson over the last 18 months has been really resolute and really impressive. So they've started really well domestically. They've had a hard run of games in contrast to Hibs. They've obviously played Rangers and got the draw, Hibs away and got the draw, and opening day, flag day against Celtic at Parkhead. They've got 3 points after 4 games. So a lot of credit to Robinson, and not that you need to say that, Andrew. You say it enough, but St Mirren have a really good record against Hibs as well. They've been, I think it's 7 games in a row in the league without defeat against Hibs. So maybe that's a bit of a bogey team, isn't it, for them? I know United is killy for sure. But yeah, moving from Leith out to Livy. Livingston 1, Hearts 2 at the weekend. A late winner from Kiziridis. Kiziridis.
He's my man.
The man that you said the Greek K, Andrew, I think was how you said it pre-season. But yeah, him and Claudio Braga getting on the score sheet. They've got a combined 9 goals so far this season between the two of them. Fantastic pair. Look like a couple of good signings. They've obviously brought in their Brazilian guy for a record fee as well, 1.7 mil or something for that. Agadu. I can't remember his name. But yeah, they were successful despite going 1-0 down at the home of the Set Fair Arena with over 6,000 Hearts fans in attendance. That was the sort of headline from the game, I think, wasn't it? Everyone was talking about that. And a lot of people saying that's fantastic to see. I'm interested to get your opinions on that. Seeing 6,000 away fans compared to maybe it was a 1,500 or 2,000 home fans there.
Nothing new in Scottish football, is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing new, mate. Livingston are a Diddy club, so they got no fines.
Wow, Diddy club.
They got no grant. Well, it's like Hamilton and Livingston, the same. Like they can't fill their own fucking ground, so might as well take the Yankee dollar. You know, the dollar from the other teams, the Hearts, the Hibs, the Rangers, the Celtic, the Falkirk probably can give you about 5,000 away fans if you give them the space. But got to make some money, eh?
Falkirk have a really good home turnout, to be fair to them. Even though they've only got 3 stands, they do turn up well. They had almost 1,500 travelling fans up at Pittodrie.
Yeah, exactly. They'll fill
the other
Livingston.
day,
It's
so.
not that far, so they'd probably fill 3 stands as well if you give them the tickets. Like, go there. But I don't know. It's not.
So are you seeing it as a positive thing that they were doing that, or is it should it be a non-news story, or is it negative? Like, what's your take?
I think Livingston will, no matter how good they get, they'll never get any more fans. So what's the point in even trying? So just
What
give
causes
them to
that?
the way. I don't know, mate. I think they've got a big shopping centre along the road. They've got some good, a good outlet. You know, Andrew, what do you think? Being a Rangers fan, I bet you've.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how it's a news story. Like, to be honest with you, because I mean, it's not like it's a new thing. You know, Livingston, St Johnstone, are probably the other one that's been in the Prem recently that tends to be quite guilty of the same thing. But ultimately, I know most of the country is kind of populated by Old Firm fans. But I think it's quite densely populated by Old Firm fans in that central belt. And Livingston, I don't really know this for fact, but my memories of Livingston when I was a wee boy, they seem to have a much better following. Then it's just when they've kind of dropped off, and then generations of fans, have then gone to follow another team rather than the teams that maybe their dad or their granddad followed or whatever. And unfortunately that's the sad state of football at the moment. Even Old Firm fans, it's football's fickle at the moment, so there's a lot of kids that would have been Old Firm fans, for example, that are just choosing to follow a team down south because there's more money and it's more exciting, and they'll more likely travel to a game there than up here. So I think it's just unfortunately the sad state of Scottish football, and teams like Livingston, they've got a really hard job to try and recruit fans, I guess, and increase attendances. But I do think that maybe I don't know if it's a Livingston issue, but it's definitely a general issue in Scottish football. But maybe ticket pricing, is quite off putting. You're looking at sort of 30 quid plus sometimes, to get to your average game in the SPFL, which is mental. So trying to encourage, young fans to come along, get involved. I think there needs to be more incentives, maybe pushed by the SFA, because ultimately Livingston would be sacrificing, tickets that an Old Firm adult would buy for full price. Maybe they need to incentivize, fiver tickets for youngsters or whatever, just to get bigger attendances in. It needs something radical like that at the very, very top to push these teams that are maybe struggling to get the attendances in. But I don't know if you've ever watched the highlights at Livingston, but on an average game that doesn't involve a team with a huge following, like a Hibs, a Hearts, a Celtic, a Rangers, even a Falkirk, as Matthew were saying, it's pretty quiet in there, so I think something drastic does need to be done to help those kind of teams out. But it's not a headline. Like, it's been like that for as long as I can remember.
I didn't sell out 3 stands to your own fans at like a tenner all round, and the thing is, can they afford to do that? I don't know. I've not seen the books. But you're better to have it full with your own fans at a tenner, a skull, and create that atmosphere that it's going to make people want to come back, isn't it? But
yeah.
They've had a great start to their season, though. 4 points from 4 games, and again, they've obviously played Celtic away and they've played Hearts, and similar to Falkirk, 4 points from their opening games. Martindale's done really well, considering, like I say, the teams that they've played. So well done to them. And they've also, in the first half alone, playing a very good Hearts team, got the same XG just by themselves as the combined Old Firm match on Sunday. So yeah,
that's not really saying a lot, to be fair, but I'm surprised we weren't.
I think it's saying a lot.
Minus figures in XG on that day, but if that was ever possible, but yeah, good on them. And look, I do like what Martindale's done. He's quite a traditional kind of old school Scottish manager. And that's what Livingston need. And to be honest, what he does behind the scenes is remarkable in comparison to what most managers do. He's so involved in the day-to-day. You listen to the interviews of their kind of new owners, and they're really, really impressed by Martindale and how integrated he is into Livingston, and the all-round job he does just outside of football. So speaking of that, I do wonder what their ambitions are to grow the fan base, because ultimately, if you've just invested in or bought a football club, that's something that they're going to really need to try and sort of hit on the head quickly. But I don't really know what they do. I don't know, as you said, what they can kind of afford to do to try and maybe bring in more fans.
I don't know either. And maybe Martindale can ask ChatGPT to come up with some ideas. On to the Dundee derby next, and it's the first time I've donned my tangerine shirt for a pod, and I thought it was apt after a dominant display at Dens Park, or whatever branded nonsense they're calling it now. Steven Pressley still without a win as Dundee manager in the league. United, I don't know if I know Matt watched the game. I don't know if you saw it, Andrew, but United looked very resolute. To me, it looked like Dundee could have played another 90 minutes on top of it and not scored. They didn't create anywhere near enough chances, even with being 1-0 down. It's not like Presley changed anything really to try and get a goal. And again, it looked like in the last sort of 20-30 minutes, Goodwin just asked the boys to go and get another goal. They did it, and then they just sort of relaxed again. It was the calmest I've felt watching a Dundee derby in a long, long time. And we've done all that with all these injuries that we've got as well. We've still got Waters out, we've got Graham out, Trapanovsky, and Ryan Strain. Like, these are all starters for us, most likely. So, yeah, really, really happy with that result, especially after a wobbly period going out of Europe, then going out of the League Cup. Matt, as a neutral and someone who, you won't mind me saying, hates Dundee United, what did you make of it?
Yeah, they had them at arm's length. It was like a bigger kid, holding the wee kid's head, like saying, "Can stay back, little boy, you're not coming near me," just pushing him away as he falls in the mud. It was very easy, and Dundee have no threat up front. It was quite pathetic to see, even in like the last 5 minutes. Where I remember one point they're pushing forward, one boy went down the right, crossed it in the box. There was just no one in the box. There was no one there. Like, an old Simon Murray was like, can you even get himself the 6-yard box? Pressley was talking about thrust. In his post-match interview, they had no thrust. They looked weak in attack. Their midfield was very weak. Danda was just bullied in that first half, subbed at half time. United were stronger, faster, more aggressive, more attacking threat, more defensive dominance, and it was easy. If Dundee United wanted, they could have scored 3 or 4. You're right, they've got the 2-0 and they just said, come on boys, take this along the road. Have a wee
really professional.
Yeah. Easy.
Professional.
Easy win. It was
easy
for
win,
Derby,
that's it.
Dundee have just had no fight. Really, they just look so off it. Like, and obviously, Pressley has improved them in some aspects of the team, and he keeps talking about training this and blah blah blah. But you've had a long time already, and you've got to try and at least show some fucking heart in a derby. And that's the most disappointing thing. You know, they didn't really give anything. Really, they just were bullied from the first whistle, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, it comes back to what we've all said about Pressley pre-season, isn't it? About Andrew, you said it quite a lot about how can he inspire a dressing room, how can he get them up for it. He must have done that as Hearts captain in Edinburgh derbies, eh? But I don't know where that's gone.
Yeah. I don't think he's improved anything at Dundee at all. I disagree with you, Matthew, but Dundee are garbage, like absolutely garbage, and you know they are where they should be in the table and where I expect them to be for pretty much the whole season. You know, United, you know, yeah, they probably should have got a result against Falkirk. They probably should have got a result against Killie, but these kind of games are nip and tuck. You know, they're tight. But I just you can see improvements in Dundee United. You can, you know, especially with the hearty sort of performances they put in Europe, you know, and then, you know, juggled that domestically, even against Hearts. You know, obviously it was to the wire stuff. So I think it's looking positive for Goodwin. That's a really good result, you know, and a good boost before the international break. It's a game that they should be winning, and comfortably. They have, but alarm bells have got to be ringing at Dundee. I know they are looking at bringing a couple of signings in right at the end of the window, but I just cannot see where the huge improvements are going to come that are going to definitely keep them safe. They are still firmly in that relegation zone for me, you know, for the entire season. I can't see them bouncing up at all. So, yeah. I think the situation remains that Pressley cannot last the season because it'll just be too much for Dundee and they will go down.
He's done well to make it to September. I had him predicted out before now. Maybe he'll be singing that Green Day song, Wake Me Up When September Ends, eh? Because I think he's going pretty soon.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting though. You were talking about Dundee have got no firepower, Matt, up front, and it was only 6 months ago or so, maybe even less, that people were wanting him Simon Murray called up for Scotland. Did he look good last year in a really bad team? Was that team last year able to create more chances for him? Obviously they had Lyle Cameron.
Yeah, it's not his fault, mate. He scored 57 goals last season.
57?
Yeah, got a goal, mate. Clearly Tony Dock had them
Dundee did?
Yeah, Dundee.
I thought you meant Murray.
57 goals.
That's what I was like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Clearly, Tony Dock knew how to get them into forward positions to set up their striker, and he knew how to score goals and have a bit of fun. Yeah, they conceded 77, but that's a lot of goals. But they scored 57 goals, man. That's a lot of goals. Scored more than Hearts. They scored more than every other team in the bottom half. But they did concede the most. I don't know. I'd rather have some fun with Tony Dock, mate, than be fucking bored at my tits with Steven Pressley, that's for sure. Justice for the Dock.
Amen. Talking about being bored at your tits, we'll have, 10 seconds maybe on this Old Firm nonsense. It was abysmal, really, really bad. And that is on a Sunday, 12 o'clock. The English Premier League games all kick off at 2. There's probably a few English punters down in the pub ready to watch the 2 p.m. kickoff. So like, you know what, we'll stick on the Old Firm. We'll watch what the two best teams in Scotland have to offer. Sorry, the Glasgow derby, whatever you want to call it. well, we'll see what these teams have to offer. They switch it on, and they see 2 shots on target the entire 90 minutes, 0 for Rangers. Just so boring. Worst Old Firm in a long time. But I think both managers will leave that pitch fairly happy, which is mental. Andrew, it's your time to shine, I suppose. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I'm not going to go on about it. But yeah, it was a shite game. Like, it was terrible. I mean, Russell Martin got awfully carried away with himself, I think, at the end. You know, I mean, what I'd say is he's undefeated. You know, he's on for an invincible season. But no, it's a joke. He's not won this season. You know, it's the worst record, and I think it's like, you know, over 45 years or something like that for a Rangers manager. He has a lot of improving to do, and there's still obviously a lot of trouble behind the scenes there, you know, with the whole Raskin situation and how the fans have reacted to that, and, you know, singing his name for quite a large portion of the game, and, you know, it's messy. It's really messy. But flipping over to the other side, I mean, Brendan Rodgers, you know, he's not won against Rangers since the League Cup final, and they won on penalties. You know, that's Clement, that's Barry Ferguson, and now, you know, arguably the worst Rangers manager of all time. So, you know, that's
Paul Le Guen. I didn't see him.
I'd take Paul Le Guen back in a heartbeat. But it's that's alarming, you know, and I don't know. It doesn't matter how you cut it. That Celtic team, especially after they made the changes, you know, and actually brought on, you know, a proper 9 and put Maeda out to the wing. You know, they've got to be better. There's no way. I'm not buying any of this. You know, their starting 11 isn't good enough. It was, like, it absolutely was. So I think there's issue there, and I think Brendan Rodgers is causing it all. You know, he wants out the door. He doesn't want to sign another contract, and it's affecting Celtic. You know, that's it. They really have been there for the taking this season, and that was the first sort of proper slip up, you know, outside a sort of Kairat that they've had. So things need to turn around really quickly there to get back into the sort of proper domestic animal they can be, because I think that once they start getting a tough run, that team looks very exposed and very average just now. So they really need to go up a few gears, but they've not certainly got as many concerns as Rangers have. But what a terrible game that was. I can't remember as bad an Old Firm game in my entire life. It was so boring.
Yeah, first 0-0 since 2017, and the lowest game in, I hate to talk about XG too much, but the lowest XG ever recorded in an SPL Premiership match, which started in the COVID season, I think 2019-20. So yeah, I was trying to Google to find the lowest ever XG match in history, and I think it was 0.16 in some La Liga game. So it's right up there with the most boring game of football ever. Matt, again, as a neutral, any further comments on Rangers and Celtic?
I'm disappointed that Russell Martin sold out on his philosophy and decided to fucking sit back at the edge of his box and play 2 holding midfielders and a guy with hair braids. I don't know. It was pretty boring. I mean, I don't know what I can't tell. It doesn't really tell you much from Rangers' point of view. It tells you that Celtic are pretty toothless. And have they brought in anyone? Do we know at the moment? I know Ida's officially gone, so I don't know.
I think they've got.
The fact you're still playing James Bloody Forrest. James fucking Forrest still playing for Celtic, man. The right wing coming on as their
back for
some attacking threat.
Second testimonial.
I mean, he's your guy you bring on. Like, I mean, that's some poor management from the board, mate. Like, I don't know, man. Why the board not signing these good players? Another guy looks pretty shite on the other side. I don't know. It was his first game, but he just passed it back all the time.
Well, like or whatever he was. Yeah.
Everyone was just shite scared, man. Just everyone was like,
yeah,
I'm too scared to do nothing. I'm just going to fucking keep it safe. And it was pretty pathetic from Celtic. Really, should have fucking stuck the foot on the neck. Really fucking rubbed it in on the Rangers, but I don't know.
Do you know the big difference I saw just was with Callum McGregor not controlling the game? And I think on the previous Old Firm, when Barry Ferguson was in charge, He had Bayrami on McGregor. He was like shit on bricks. Like he just, he couldn't move for Bayrami. Like it was constant. Asgard was given the same job in that game, but there was so many times that I really had an eye on McGregor, and he was able to create that space very, very easily, but the ball just was not coming through to him. So, the back four were always kind of opting to pop it somewhere else, and wasn't really giving McGregor an opportunity to have a proper battle with Asgard. So I don't really know if that was a hangover from the last Old Firm or whatever, but I really felt Asgard was there for the taking. He wasn't tight marking him. He wasn't really that physical. He wasn't that good on the ball. So I think they missed an opportunity there. And had McGregor got his foot on the ball, yes, he's not the same player he was, 5 years ago, but he's still very capable of controlling that Old Firm derby. So I think that's what let Celtic down the most, rather than anything else. And I think a lot of the passing was safe and maybe a little bit panicky at times as well. But on the other side, I would say Kieran Tierney looked very dodgy. I think he's definitely past his best.
Almost scored a bicycle kick, mate.
I know that, but he was really struggling to get up and down, and he obviously isn't the same player. He's older and he's experienced a lot more injuries, but I didn't really feel that he sort of brought that sort of level-headedness and experience to the table. I do think he made a lot of bad decisions throughout the game. So it's those types of games that you really need to be able to rely on these experienced players. I know you're talking about Forrest. I actually thought he had quite a positive impact on the game. But yeah, a few alarm bells for Celtic, but I'm sure they'll make some last minute signings, and I'm sure that'll kind of shore things up for Brendan Rodgers.
Very good. Unlike the game. Speaking of games, it's another segue, and it's going to be time for our home or away quiz. Quiz time. Quiz time. Yes.
In a world where sponsorship is more accessible than ever, that world exists at sportsponsorship.co.uk. Whether you're interested in making a difference to your local community or further afield, or perhaps you're looking for access to tens of thousands of followers online to push your brand further than ever, get in touch with sportsponsorship.co.uk. That's sportsponsorship.co.uk.
The scores after our last episode are 33 points to Andrew and 24 to Matt. Andrew, it's you first this time. Do you want to go home or away?
I'm going home.
You're going to go home. Okie dokie. And just for our listeners, just to add a bit of context here, we now release 2 episodes a week. This one is coming out on Tuesday, the 2nd of September. Our previous episode was last Friday, which would have been the 29th of August. So we're going to try and do Friday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Friday, Friday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Friday. And the idea is the Friday episodes are going to be a review of the midweek action, and our Tuesday episodes are a review of the weekend. On our Tuesday episodes, they're a bit longer. They've got a quiz at the end. On our Friday episodes, it is just straight ball talking. But yeah, anyway, we're on to the quiz, and it is an easy question for Andrew. It's the home question. Your player is a Dutch goalkeeper with 15 caps.
Okay.
I was going to say 0
How
goals,
many
but
goals, mate?
that is a given.
How many goals?
1,000.
Dutch keeper, 15 caps.
Yes, sir. Who has played in Scotland. Obvs.
See. Dutch.
Just whilst Andrew's thinking, I will appeal to our audience to get in touch and let us know what you thought of the new format on Friday, that new episode. Was it good just getting straight on with midweek chat? Is it good to split the 2 up into 2 separate episodes? And also tell us what you'd like to hear from these episodes. Get in touch with any questions or any thoughts you have on the nonsense that we spout. Please do. You can email us. It's tinpotpod@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram, TikTok, or leave us a comment on Spotify, Apple Music, that sort of jazz. Back to Andrew. 3 points if you get it at this clue, or you can take a second clue.
I think I'm going to have to go for a second clue because I'm not actually sure I've got this guy's name right, to be fair. But yeah, go for it.
Okie dokie. Clue number 2. This player has won the EFL Championship with Norwich City twice.
Times 2. Norwich.
Times 2. You've got to trust Matthew here, since we can't see him, that he's not doing what he did previously and Googling the answer.
That is... I'm going to sue you in the British court. I'm going to take you down to Chinatown. Take all your money.
Is your mic now also broken?
Hello?
There we go.
I was just saying I was going to sue you. That's all. For slander.
You weren't saying that, you were whispering that.
Played for Norwich. That's a real curveball, because that's really... Did he? He maybe played down south. Did you... So he played for Norwich twice? He won the EFL with Norwich twice.
Won the EFL Championship with Norwich 2 times.
He was Celtic. Pretty sure. Who else was the Dutch keeper? God, this is really difficult, actually.
Maybe it's a tricky home question, but do you need a third clue? It's still worth a point. Would put you 10 clear of Matthew.
I've only really got one name that's in contention at the moment, so I do think I'm going to have to go for that third clue, yeah, go for it.
Okie dokie. This player finished 3rd in the FIFA World Cup in 2014.
FIFA Cup, fucking hell.
Don't have to give out medals for 3rd place, but he did finish 3rd. And is therefore an honour on his Wikipedia page.
Christ. It can't.
This round, by the way, just to let our audience know, is brought to you by Nooch Bar and Kitchen, Stirling's only fully plant-based restaurant, bar, kitchen, whatever you want to call it. There's a quiz there every Thursday at 8 p.m. I am one of the quiz hosts there, which is why we have a quiz segment sponsored by such a fine establishment.
Yeah, I can vouch for that place, mate. It's class. Absolutely class. And I love to eat.
You do?
I do. And I love to eat a nooch.
You've stopped eating on the podcast as much, though. You used to come on with loads of different treats.
I had some dark chocolate and dates before I came on the podcast, mate.
Dark chocolate dates?
Quite nice just to put a date and a bit of dark chocolate together. Sometimes a bit of peanut butter or almond butter. It's quite a nice low-fat, sweet treat.
It's what they call a homemade Mars bar, or
That's it, mate.
Put some peanut in there, so that's Snickers.
Yeah. Nice, good.
What are you thinking, Andrew?
This is a struggle. I've got 2 names, and one of them, I just don't think he played in the old school SPL. I think that the team I was thinking of was surely Championship or something like that. I don't think the team he played for was in the top flight, but maybe he played for another Scottish team. I don't know.
Wait, why would they have to be in the top flight in Scotland?
Oh, I thought it was SPL.
What SPL?
The Scottish Premier League.
What do you mean? When did I say SPL?
I thought all the players pretty much were SPL players.
They just need to have played in Scotland.
Oh, okay. Well, that changes things slightly.
14 episodes.
Well, I don't think there's been any examples of that where they haven't played in the old school SPL.
Oh, there's been loads of them.
Yeah, they've played for other teams, but they've not played. They've also
Patterson,
played for
he wasn't in the SPL.
Yeah, he played for Hearts, didn't
Not in the SPL.
he?
In the
fuck it,
Premiership,
anyway. Right, in that case, that massively changes things for me.
Oh, Jesus, here we go.
Oh, God.
So, in a good way.
Get ready for 12 minutes of dead air.
No, for me, it's Tim Krul. He's the only one that's surely played that amount of games for the Netherlands. And
Who did he play for in Scotland?
I'm pretty confident it was Falkirk, but I don't know if he was there permanently or he was on loan or something. I don't know.
Some very, very good ball knowledge, sir. You're correct. It is Tim Krul. He was on loan at Falkirk for a season, got 22 games for them. Well done. 1 point.
Yeah.
Well, the only one I had was De Vries, was it? He played for Hearts.
Doris De Vries.
Or for Celtic, sorry.
Yeah. Doris.
But there's no way he had 15 caps for Holland, so I was really struggling with that.
Well done.
But
Well
yeah,
done. It was a tricky home question. He's not a home
That was
question
easy, mate.
because
That
of
was
his
easy.
because of
an
his
easy one,
time in
come on.
Scotland. It was a home question because of how big a player he is.
That was
And
easy,
how
man.
good
I
it
got
was.
that in the first clue, son.
Feel that
Did you
first clue.
actually?
Nah, got in the second, but it was pretty easy, mate.
Alright,
Well
chill.
played. Matthew, over to you. Home or away?
Away, please.
Away.
challenge.
A Czech defensive midfielder with 23 caps and 0 goals.
Defensive midfielder. What was the
23 caps.
23 caps? 0 goals.
Next clue, please, mate. Just fire on.
Next clue for 4 points.
Yep.
This man has an English Premier League winners medal and an English League Cup winners medal from the same season, and he also started in that League Cup final.
Oh, an English man. A man, is it a male?
Won the League and Cup double in England and played in that final, started that final.
And he's played in the Scottish Premiership only.
I thought it was just SPL.
He's played in the top league
He's
in
not
Scotland,
biting.
has he?
He's played in Scotland, yeah. I'm not going to say who for or at what level.
A Czech midfielder that's played in Scotland, that's defensive and is a midfielder.
I've put defensive midfielder because he played defender and midfielder technically, according to all the sources I've read. But I'm pretty
Right.
sure his time in Scotland was a midfielder.
I'm thinking. I think I know. Because he won the league and the League Cup in his first season. A defensive midfielder Czech. Now, I'm thinking of a quiz I did yesterday where we were thinking of a team. I think I thought of
Okay.
this man, and I think he did play for Celtic, and he did play in England for. His name. He played. I'm sure he played for Celtic, or he was on loan at Celtic. He was.
Oh,
Chelsea.
cheesy peeps, man.
What's this for 4 points?
4 points, mate. Yeah,
So I'd get.
gets you right back in the fight.
Should I just go for it, or should I don't know if he's Russian. Is he Russian? Like, he's not Russian. Is he Russian?
Come on.
Is he Russian?
I
Starting from
don't
next
have a
week,
clue
there's
who
gonna
it
be-
could be.
It's going to be a 30 seconds per clue rule from
I
next week.
know. Okay, I'll guess Yarashik.
Who the fuck is that?
First name?
Did he have first name? Yuri.
Yes. 4 points. Yuri Yarashik. Played for Celtic for a
Yeah.
couple of years.
I don't.
He played for
remember him at
Chelsea
all.
under Mourinho 04-05 and won the league. Played 15 times in the league that season and also was started in that EFL Cup final.
Big blonde boy. Is he?
I don't remember him at all.
Under Strachan. Was he in
It's Matthew up
Strachan's
to
team?
28 points. The gap now
Generous.
6, 34-28.
Czech footballer. I'm
So he
looking
was-
at him and I do not remember that guy at all.
I remember him in the Strachan team with like Vinegar of Hesselink and Scott McDonald
Yep.
and all that. Was he one of those boys?
Zurawski, etc.
Yeah.
He was in that mob.
The yellow,
Tell you what,
Nakamura's, the
yellow
Robsons.
Thoroughly impressive that. I didn't even know he existed. That's amazing. Well done.
Maybe the best pool of the pod so far. Well done, Matthew. And like I say, the gap is now 6. So I think that's
Oh dear.
about it for our weekend review episode, our Tuesday ep. Thanks, Matthew, for joining us. Andrew, thanks for joining us, and thanks to the listeners for sticking with us. And this hour and 3 long now. It was meant to be 45 minutes, but we've made it last yet again. If you, like I say, if you want to get in touch, let us know your thoughts, give us any questions or some criticism if you'd like. We take it all on the chin. It's at TinpotPod on all the socials. The email address is tinpotpod@gmail.com. And until Friday when we release our next episode, have a good time. Goodbye.
Cheers.